Warning, if you draw another ±1 card, I will enact assassination protocols.
Hello friends, and welcome back to the channel. Back again with the helpful guide for Knights of the Old Republic 2. In today's video, we are going to be going over the HK Factory mission and what it has to offer. This will serve as sort of a playthrough guide if you are stuck at a certain part, or you just kind of want to see how to get through the whole thing. My last video was a blaster build guide for building HK-47, so I found it fitting to follow up with a guide to getting through the HK Factory. Check the corner to see that video. The HK Factory is a portion of the cut content added in by the Sith Lord's Restored Content mod, and it is my favorite part of the Restored Content mod. This video will contain spoilers for that mission since we will be going over it. Feel free to click away if you would prefer to experience it on your own before we go over getting through it. It is a relatively short mission, but it does offer some sweet upgrades for HK and a good amount of lost story for our favorite assassin droid. We will be covering all the steps you need to take to progress in the mission, the upgrades to HK we will come across, and the different ways that we can finish the mission. I highly recommend playing through this yourself, as it is quite enjoyable and pretty hilarious how the different models bicker between one another over who is most superior. With all that said, let's begin going over the HK Factory mission. So to trigger this mission, we need to have the Sith Lord's Restored Content mod installed, and be sure to activate the quest where we have to run into 3 sets of HK units with HK-47 in our party. I also made a video on how to do just that. Check the corner to check that one out. The mission will happen right after we head back to Telos to deal with Atris. The main character heads to Atris' Jedi Academy, and HK heads back to the Telos underground military base where that mysterious locked door has always been. You start off in the underground base we have already been to, so we can head over to the workbench located here if we need to craft some usables or upgrades before we venture in. Here's a good place to craft some repair and construction kits if we need any. You may have to load a previous save if you need another companion's skill set to craft some of the better upgrades. So let's head in and begin the mission. Get through the cutscenes to find yourself on the first level. There are doors to our left and our right that we will need to get open to progress further. While the reactor is powered up, we cannot open the doors, so that will be our first task. Head down the pathway on our right after exiting the turbo lift. Some military droids will try to deter us, but they are no match for HK-47. Once we reach the reactor, go ahead and try to shut it down. The HK-50s will inform us that shutting down the reactor will result in harm to the HK-50s, which violates our self-preservation protocols. So let's head to the other side of the level now, the pathway going left if exiting the turbo lift. Here we can shut down the communications to prevent the HKs from meddling with our own meddling. With the communications shut down, let's explore the other rooms to see if we can figure out how to unlearn that shutting down the reactor is against our programming. Head up the hallway straight in front of the turbo lift. If we head towards the left, we will run into a set of HKs that we can chat with. Chat with these guys to learn about the facility and what their purpose is. There is some good story here that sheds some light on what they are doing, and some mentions of Revan putting this plan into effect. I particularly really enjoyed this part. If you pay attention to what the HKs say, they will totally fill in some gaps that explain why the first HK-50 we've come across was on the Harbinger at the beginning of the game. The HK-50s here have a sort of Three Stooges vibe going on. One of them will reveal information they shouldn't, and then the other HKs give them sort of the blank stare vibe.
When the proper release code is transmitted. Irritated statement. I do not understand why you felt the need to mention that.
It always makes me chuckle. Aside from learning that info, there is nothing of importance over here, so let's head over to the right side. Here in the munitions area, we will find a workbench if we need to craft some usables or upgrades. We will also find a manufacturing terminal, where we can resume the HK-51 production. If you intend to shut down the factory, you don't need to resume the HK-51 production, but I recommend doing so we can encounter them anyway. We can still shut down the factory even if we resume their production for the time being. Then we have this chain lever thing right next to the console. Pulling the lever will open the sealed door, revealing a helpful probe droid who can help us in unlearning the info that the HK-50s made us aware of. With the comfort of not remembering that info, we are ready to head back to the reactor. But before we head back to the reactor, let's rummage through the opened room for some goodies. Be sure to stop and click on the maintenance droid chilling here in the corner. We will acquire a core upload console from it. This item will be required if you intend to take advantage of the HK-51 production. I'll be sure to touch more on exactly what it does when we reach the end of the mission and talk about the 2 ways to complete the level. With the core upload console acquired, let's shut down that reactor. Head back to the reactor, shut it down, and then let's head back to the middle area for a cutscene between you and the HK-50s. Through the cutscene, HK-47 will figure out that if he alters his self-preservation protocols, he can then attack the HK-50s freely. This is the exact kind of shit that John Connor was trying to warn us about.
As a meatbag would say, I have a bad feeling about this.
With our self-preservation protocols modified, we will now be able to battle our way through the HK factory. Slay the HKs and loot them to find yourself a droid assassin's rifle. This is one of the better guns in the game for HK-47. If you are not rocking dual disintegrators or a TSLRCM rifle, grab this and throw some upgrades on it. Then be sure to grab the droid capacitor armor before we head into the manufacturing plant. When facing the turbo lift, head to the right and search the lockers here to find it. This is hands down the best armor for HK-47. The 75% resistance boost will help immensely going forward. Now let's venture down to the manufacturing plant. We will come across some heavy HK resistance once down here. Slay your way through them and you will come across 3 different sets of HKs training each other in their dastardly techniques. You will have the option to observe their training, which I highly recommend doing. It gives some good insight to the tactics that they were designed for. That, and it's pretty hilarious watching them purposefully mess up translations to ensure negotiations go sour.
Statement. Subject test, Ithorian. A weak, disgustingly pacifistic species that values vegetation and other non-sentient organics.
Once we take out everyone in the training area, head down the long hallway to reach the last part of the factory. After a chat with one of the HKs, we will face 8 HK-50s at once. It's the HK factory version of a boss fight. If you blaster build HK-47 properly and have that capacitor armor, this should be a fairly easy fight for you. With the HKs defeated, head to the console and be sure to take in the sights of how massive of a scale this HK production facility is. That is a shitload of HKs being made. At this point in the factory, we have 2 options of how to complete this level. We can either shut down the factory and all HK production, or we can take the HK-51 production into our own hands and use them to aid us in our journey. Shutting down the factory is probably the best course of action if you are sticking to a light-sided playthrough. Using the HK-51s to our advantage and making a small, highly lethal and effective army is of course going to be much more fun and in line with what HK-47 would do. To shut down the factory, head to the left passageway to get to the HK-50 production terminal. Be sure to download the combat upgrade from this console to give HK-47 +1 to dexterity. Then shut down the HK-50 production line. HK-50s will attempt to stop you, but what is 3 more compared to the 20 or 30 that we have already slayed through? Now to the other side, the HK-51 production terminal. Be sure to download the HK-51 combat upgrade from this terminal too to gain +1 to dexterity and +3 to attack bonus. HK-51s will try to convince you to stop, but just ignore them and destroy them. Shut down the HK-51 production line here, and then head back to the main area to shut down the factory entirely. You have done it! The galaxy is now a much safer place with this facility shut down. So now let's talk about completing it the other way. After defeating the 8 HK-50s, head to the right passageway to get to the HK-51 production terminal. Be sure to grab your combat upgrade that we just talked about. Right here is where we will make use of that core upload console that we found in the munitions room. Use the core upload console to upload HK-47's behavior core as a template for the HK-51s. Now we are talking. The HK-51's behavior core had issues, but now that they have HK-47's behavior core, they should be much more compliant. Now let's head over to the other side to the HK-50 production terminal. Download the combat upgrade, and then shut down the HK-50 production line. We will get a cutscene of the HK-50s trying to stop us, but behold, our army awakens. With the HK-51s active and loyal to HK-47, they will help make short work of the HK-50s. Now let's head back to the main area to push the HK-51 line into primary production. Feast your eyes on the beautiful sight of HK-51s loyal and ready to serve your order. Activate the HK-51 production to end the HK factory mission and get a great cutscene of HK-47 explaining their purpose. You have done it! Congratulations! What an amazing level.
Once upon a time, organic meat bags bred out of control and filled the galaxy. There are different meat bags across different planets, all bumping into each other.
Now let's talk about a spoiler for the ending of the game. If you watch this to get through the HK factory, or were stuck somewhere, but haven't seen the end of the game, click away as a spoiler is about to be told. Ready? You good? Okay. So this is not the last of the HK army that we will see. They will make a small appearance at the end of the game. They will come to our aid at the end of the game when we are trying to detonate the mass shadow generator on Malachor 5. Gota will try to stop Remote from performing the detonation, but HK-47 shows up to the rescue with some HK-51s. They stop the fat one in a very satisfying manner. I was so happy when this happened. I hate Goto so much. So it filled me with so much joy to watch HK destroy him. But that's it, my friends. That is the whole HK Factory walkthrough. I hope it was helpful and you enjoyed getting to know how to progress through it. That core upload console is easy to miss if you don't search that maintenance droid. Be sure to throw a like on this if it helped you out. Get subscribed if you're not already to see future content as it comes out. I'm working on a KOTOR 2 glitch guide for the console players, so look forward to that. I appreciate you coming to check out the video. This is my favorite part of the restored content mod, and I highly recommend giving it a playthrough if you haven't already. Thanks again, my friends, and we will see you in the next one.